Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back, everybody.
Please do subscribe both channels, EEARTS and also Evolutionary, as they'll both have unique videos up there. And we want to start here, and this happened last night. If we didn't have such a busy day, I would have put this up last night, but we were both kind of tired. We get to bed early. We get up before the sun rises typically, and we get to bed maybe an hour after sun goes down. And but that's the way, nature kind of intended.
It works. It really does.
Yeah, I've never been this way. I honestly, I've been a night owl for the most part of my life, where I will stay up just doing research and doing things.
I worked swing shift. When I did work swing shift, it was easy, but I noticed my body functions better if I'm on that. I think it's called a circadian rhythm. I forgot the name.
Circadian.
Yeah. On that rhythm. I just function better. I'm clearer. I'm happier, but everybody has their thing.
Well, you look great to me.
You look pretty good to me, too.
Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. We keep this PG. Okay, so let's see what we got here. This was Japan last night. Or yesterday. That's a scary sound, and no, it's not warning of Godzilla. It was actually warning of a North Korean missile, a ballistic missile. It flew 4,500 kilometers to an altitude of 970 kilometers at a speed of Mach 17. This missile, when you look at the trajectory, it went way over Japan. And as we see here, out of the star, and there's so many sources talking about this. Japan orders citizens take shelter underground after North Korea launches missile. Government urged everyone in the country to find refuge either underground or in a building, but the rocket has been reported as having flown over and into the Pacific. And again, when you look at where it went from North Korea, it went straight over Japan. And it, missed Japan by a very long ways. But again, it went straight over the country. A ballistic missile going straight over the country is something that should wake up anybody. When you look at this map, and it's given the starting point there, 85.1 degrees, 2,796 nautical miles, what's just a little bit farther there? Now, this hasn't been verified as far as, was this really a warning for Japan, or was this more of a warning for Hawaii? Because you could see the Hawaiian island chain right here. And if that looks, well, according to this map anyway, it looks like if it just had gone, maybe 1,000 nautical miles or more farther, it would have been in that vicinity. So who is this really a warning for? And again, Japan, some people, I just saw one person talking about yesterday saying Japan's still occupied by the U.S. As we do have big naval bases there, we always have a large military presence there. And Japan in recent years has been rearming themselves and putting out a lot of weapons of defense. Yeah. Again, we look at our defense budget, yet nobody's directly attacking the U.S., and the U.S. is in many countries. And I've shared this before. It's all the way back in 2017, the U.S. had military forces in 90% of the countries on the planet. But that's all shifting. And, we had talked about Chinese police stations. Well, it's shifting because that's going to be the new policeman on the block for the powers that be.
Well, they've sent 100 million subtle little hints about what's going on, including stuff that we found on our own computer about them kind of taking over things.
Yeah, absolutely. China's neighbor claims aircraft intrusion. South Korean military officials reported Beijing's planes violated Seoul's air defense zone dozens of times last year. So it's not just Taiwan. We know, this is. We were listening to one guy talking yesterday, and he was saying it's the immovable object running into the irresistible force, and he's kind of got it right again. This is exactly what's been planned for decades and generations, even. So we know it's kind of coming. We're just watching and feeling out the when part and what's it going to look like. I think that's what most people want to know. I mean, when is this going to happen, and what's it going to look like? Well, here we see the Kearsarge has left. Remember, this strike group was up in the Baltics. It had spent a lot of time up around the Nordic countries, off of Poland's coast. It was just over off the southern coast of the UK. Now it's heading back into home port. There is one carrier strike group that was going to head back out, but because of the storm and the weather, it got delayed. So another one would head back out and probably take up the same position that the Kearsarge had, which was giving us 2 carrier strike groups from the U.S. within the range of Ukraine. 3 stationed over off of China and Japan area. So at the moment, not as much firepower over there close to Ukraine. Ukraine has officially declared any sort of negotiations with Putin is impossible. So obviously that's not going to move forward. And here we see the latest map. Russian media's Rybar's latest map shows how dire the situation is in the northern Kherson area for Russia. These maps are 4 hours apart, so you can see Ukraine's pushing Russia. Now, Russia has made these parts of Ukraine part of them now. So, again, the terms are changing and the terminology is changing. And there's so many mercenary soldiers. There's so much equipment and weaponry. Again, this is part of that bigger picture that's underway. And the picture that's been painted is that, Russia looks pretty darn incompetent. They've lost so much manpower. They've lost, several thousand tanks. Again, look to the art of war. It doesn't feel right. It really just doesn't feel right. Now, many times in the past, there have been times when armies have withdrawn on purpose in order to suck in others and then launch some other sort of attack. So we need to, keep this in mind as we see Putin orders the N word, the N-U-K-E word, military train to the Ukrainian front line, Doomsday submarine in the Arctic. So nuclear trains, that's alarm bells ringing. It's a scary, scary thought. And what they're talking about, too, are these, what they call tactical. One of the things that 45 did, as soon as he was in power, was get out of a treaty that banned the use of very small, low-yield NUKE weapons. Why? Because you're blurring the lines between conventional and NUKE. And that's exactly what they want to do, because, you guys probably remember we've said multiple times that the galactics won't let the entire planet go up in a nuclear winter. They won't let it. And there's been numerous times when UFOs have overflown military bases and everything shuts down. They can't do that. They don't want to interfere in human free will. And that's because of the bigger picture. This is a learning experience for everyone. And I know it's hard to conceive of that when you're on the inside and you just view all these things as just tremendous atrocities. But ultimately, we are eternal beings, and we just have this temporary human experience. The thing we constantly get from the guides, your human experience, the human experience, human experience. It's an experience. So right now, I'm a human, but what are you really? Your consciousness itself. And so you're in a vehicle. And right now we're having this heavy, dense, and sometimes very, very threatening feeling experience. But the reality is, we go on, and there is life after the body is no longer operating. Just like, your favorite car. You might shed a tear when your favorite car, time has come to let it go. It's going to go to the auto junkyard, but you go on. You get a new car, a new truck, a new vehicle, a new motorcycle maybe. Whatever it is, you move on, even though the vehicle doesn't. It's the same thing with bodies.
And it is really difficult to grasp, but it can be freeing to realize that energy never goes away. It simply changes form. When I do talk with people and we're connecting with loved ones who have passed on, these visions and these pictures are what I get, and I can pass this information along. If they were not still in their form, or if they were not making adjustments, I wouldn't be able to see them. I wouldn't be able to see what they're doing. But this doesn't change the fact that whenever someone is lost, or if somebody is critically ill or terminally ill, all of these fears of death still shroud us. They still come over us, and we still have a human reaction. And that's perfectly normal, and we should have those human reactions. It's part of our journey.
It is, absolutely, as the dogs are very wound up having their journey as canine puppies that have so much energy. So when we look at everything that's going on in this world, it might look horrible, chaotic, hopeless, all the above. But understand that the take is that we are here in order to, in some cases, many cases, in order to kind of prove something to ourselves. How will we stand up in the face of what we might term pure evil? As the computer just starts to do all sorts of crazy things there. Okay. That was interesting. But, really, it is. Every single thing we do, every single thing that the E-lights do, the controllers, everything is watched. Everything is seen. There is nothing that's hidden. Nothing is hidden. As much as they want to try to hide things, everything is seen by beings on different densities. Nothing you've ever done is hidden. Uh-oh. A lot of people are saying, uh-oh, what about that time? Uh-oh. You're never alone, guys. You're never alone. And yes, again, everything is really seen by others.
And, they're looked upon differently, though, too. So.
They understand. I mean, they understand. The benevolent ones understand. So, Russian nuclear submarine armed with Doomsday weapon disappears from the Arctic harbor. This Belgorod submarine said to be capable of creating a 1,600-foot radioactive tsunami. Now, again, that sounds like a lot of fear porn. Very well could be. We don't know exactly where the line is going to be blurred as far as what they're going to be able to do in the upcoming conflict that they obviously want to manifest. The one thing, as we've said, they won't be allowed to put the entire planet into a nuclear winter. So, take that much from it. It doesn't mean that there won't be conflict. The conflict looks like right now it's moving towards expanding and openly going into new arenas. And this is all part of their plan. As, again, it's a matter of understanding how much awakening happens. The more we awaken, the more we realize, the more they go to plan B, C, D, and so on.
Mm-hmm. And, you look at headlines like these and you have to ask yourself, well, could it be true? Could it be true? And that's really, seriously, a nuclear submarine disappears. How likely is that? I don't think it's very likely, and I look at the headline as a bit of fear porn. But we all have to look at these things and weigh it and decide it for ourselves.
NATO has repeatedly warned members that Russia's Belgorod submarine is no longer appeared to be operating out of its White Sea base where it had been active since July. Officials warned that Russia may plan to test The Poseidon weapon system, a drone equipped with an N-bomb that Russia has claimed is capable of creating a radioactive tsunami, according to Italian media. The drone can be deployed from the submarine at any time and detonated at a depth of 1 kilometer near a coastal city. Russia state media claims the device can create a 1,600-foot wave that smashes into the coast and irradiates it. The 600-foot submarine, so that's 2 football fields long. That's a big submarine. My grandfather spent most of his adult life and most of his life on subs. And I don't know how he did that. I really don't. I've been in a sub, and I love being on a ship on top of the surface, but not in the sub. It feels really claustrophobic. Of course, that's an enormous sub. Again, 600 feet, 2 football fields long. This again is something that has actually been stated by many people, that this has always been the plan, to have something like this happen where we don't know if it's Cascadia going off. And in reality, we've seen these subs in that area. We've seen the subs right around the area of Cascadia. And would they trigger something like that? And then also off of Florida's coast. Remember, we saw 3 times them, quote unquote, hull testing a new ship by setting off an explosive discharge that gave us a 3.9 each time. 3.9, 3 times 3.9 equivalent earthquake force. And that was basically off the coast, a little bit, I believe it was a little bit south of Jacksonville. I think it was more like around St. Augustine area. Well, again, it's just another thing to be aware of, but, not in fear of. Over 200,000 troops joined Russian military amid partial mobilization. So they were talking about 300,000 with the potential to climb up to 1,000,000. 200,000 so far have ended up becoming part of the forces. Strikes halt French refineries? Of course they do. Protests triggered by spiraling inflation. And pension reform could lead to fuel shortages in the country. Yeah. It's just another brick in the wall, right?
One more, yep.
Absolutely. Anything and everything that could lead to inflated prices for food and energy and just the basic goods of life, especially going into winter, when it's going to be tough. And typically in some areas, winter's been a time when they don't launch military operations because of being able to bog down. So will we see something else develop before we get into all the snow and the ice, or will it wait? We'll have to see. It does feel like things are close, but when we were getting info from the guides last night, honestly, they couldn't give us anything definitive. And again, part of it is because it is our human experience. Also, the other part is, time is perceived differently from different densities. And again, also, you do have this blocking that's in effect and being put out there. They actually have people that are in these governments that put up mental shields so that others can't remote view them. And this is particularly something we've noticed in certain areas, such as the Vatican, although we have been able to see some things in the Vatican.
Mm-hmm. Well, shielding and cloaking is very, very real, and it's a very important part for people. If they're going to be doing things, rituals, magic, they really need to know how to do that. And they do, because they understand it. But when we're looking at information and we're looking at possible timelines, the light, which is information, is instant. So everything is happening all at once at the same time. So putting a timeline on anything is impossible unless you are looking out into that man-made construct and you can make some sense out of it. But when you're dealing with the etheric realm, time is only for us. It's only for us, not everywhere else.
I was wondering how Florida's citrus crop is doing, and so speaking to executive director over at Highlands County Citrus Growers Association, he said 20 to 80% of the fruit was damaged depending on the location. That's a massive amount. They said in some instances a good third of it was on the ground and not necessarily should be on the ground at this point in time. So we saw lemons being destroyed. That just boggles the mind. Why not give them away to food banks and the like? Well, again, it's going to lead to increased prices, but ultimately more and more shortages are going to be what's coming. As these two guys are going crazy as usual. They have too much energy. California, suffering through driest 3 years ever recorded. No relief in sight. And Cindy's comment was, that's what they say every year. Now, so is California just consistently getting drier and drier and drier? Well, this year we didn't see the attention on wildfires that we have seen in the past. And maybe it's just because there was so much more going on this year. But anyway, you look at it, we're watching, many of the lakes heading down, down, down. And long-range forecasts suggest, again, warmer and drier will persist. This is the new norm. And then again, we still see a lot of checkered patterns up in the sky, and bird flu spreads to Southern California, infecting chickens, wild birds, and other animals. After proliferating globally, a historic wave of avian flu has entered Southern California. It's worrying farmers and bird lovers, could add to complications in supply chain and food prices. Already, poultry operations have had to euthanize domestic flocks of chickens and turkeys, while thousands of wild birds have also died. And so they give a number of about 50 million birds there. Every single thing that you can imagine, for the most part, I'm sure there's some things we haven't imagined, that would attack the food supply or energy costs. There you go. It just seems to happen. And so here we see a drone going over a farmer's field. And is it releasing some substances? Yes, it is. What's it releasing? Well, the farmer doesn't know. Again, we saw drones. We saw fleets of drones. Was it in Colorado? I'm trying to think. I think it was Colorado. Utah, right? Colorado and Utah, we saw these unknown fleets of drones that were coming out of nowhere. Now, in this world, there could be fleets of drones by anybody with a little resource. So, it's tougher and tougher to know what's going on. But the one consistent thing is that food cost and energy is going up. Biden tells Al Sharpton he's going to run for president again in 2024. This guy can't find the bathroom. He can't find his shoes. He's going to run for president. Well, it just again shows you it's all about acting. Apparently he thinks he's a great actor. I think he really sucks. Honestly, and somebody had said, you never picked on 45. Well, again, we've said many times that no billionaires have your best interest in mind. You got to just look at the people and feel the vibe. It's again the case of certain actors go to Hollywood, other ones go to DC. We understand this. And the Oscar goes to, oh my God, that was a brutal collision. Oh. That's some good acting, isn't it? I mean, it's way better acting than what we see out of 46.
This is the kind of acting I would watch. This is so beautiful, so humble, yet so on cue in every way. He's just so adorable. This is like cuteness overload, you guys. It's beautiful.
And, again, this system is an atrocity on the face of the planet. It has no respect for Earth, nature, the animals, the birds, the fish, us, any life form. The whole system has to be removed. It can't be tweaked. It's been poisoning the planet for so long. You're not going to just, put one person in charge with a white hat and they're going to fix everything. No, There's no way that's happening. We got to stop being so naive. But we see the beauty that's out there, the beauty in nature. Mom can, restore balance really quick, and she will at some point in time. But again, Mother Earth, the divine feminine, they don't want to hurt any of their children. And so they would much rather we figure out a way to do it ourselves. And how can we do that without becoming part of the problem itself? What they want is they want the right to get pissed off enough at the left to just start to lose any sort of restraining logic and just become part of the problem. And it's so easy to do that, and that gets us nowhere. Again, what violent revolution ever led to a lasting change in peace? It doesn't. Again, just look to China. And so when you had the communists come to power, what happened? I mean, there was massive purge. Millions and millions lost their lives. Same thing in Russia. Overthrowing the czars, which were basically royal families, right? Dynasties. And what really came? A massive purge, a huge loss of life, even more loss of life. And then over time, less and less freedoms, more and more control, more and more restriction. You replace one aristocracy with another aristocracy. One dictator gets replaced by another dictator. The whole system has to change. We have to stop thinking in all these terms that go nowhere, whether we're talking dynasties, kings and queens, whether we're talking presidents, premiers, or dictators for life. It has to be something so revolutionary new, a concept that is not any of these concepts. No capitalism, no communism, no socialism, none, and certainly no fascism, no corporate techno-fascism, which is what we're heading into. Has to be something totally different outside of the box. We gotta get our minds outside of the box.
And anyone they're putting up for some kind of solution is not going to do the trick. So anytime you hear people say, well, if so-and-so wasn't in office, then this wouldn't happen. No, that's the problem. That's the entire problem, us thinking that one broken thing can fix another broken thing. So what do we do? And you have to keep going back to looking at yourself and how is the best way you can put yourself in the fold of the mother, because she will protect you. She will see to it that you have plenty. She will see to it that you're completely nourished and taken care of. But we have to take the effort and make the time to fold into her embrace, where we blend with her like these guys have. I mean, that is so peaceful. I would love to be sitting under there with those guys.
So as always, guys, thanks for your support. If you're so inclined, join us over on Patreon or on Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation or monthly support as well. Do check out Medicinal Foods. These are good guys. Use coupon code EEA. It gives you a discount. And there's lots of stuff there to boost the immune system, as I'm 39 hours into a fast at this point and actually feeling really good. It's amazing. I said to Cindy, I haven't eaten all day, and this is the best I felt in like a week or 2 or 3.
Well, it's true, though. When we give our organs a break, it really helps. And I want you guys to kind of notice when you do eat something, see if you're feeling sluggish and tired about a half an hour later. And if you are, that's a good indicator that a fast would be very helpful. But you got to get past probably the 16 to 24 hour timeline if you're working your way into a longer fast, because this is a gross topic, but parasites are a big thing. They're a thing, and they actually can change our mind and how we think of things, and they want us to crave food. But we have to understand that those are parasites, and they really can change our frequency.
And they can cloud your thoughts and your judgment. So that's something to keep in mind. And so when we abstain for a period of time, like say 24 or 36 hours, we are given the organs time to purge and to rest and to heal. if you can make a full 3-day, you'll give yourself an entire immune system reboot. Stem cells are growing. It's just amazing what happens in the body if we just take a break from taking in toxins, because we might think of it in terms of I'm taking in nutrition, sure, but you're also taking in toxins. It's a toxic world. It's not the same as it was in other times. It's only gotten more toxic. So we need to spend periods fasting and cleansing, and then making sure we're taking in the best that we possibly could. And we understand that organic is no longer organic in this world. But at the same time, it doesn't help anything by taking in the Franken foods, all the stuff that's processed and loaded with everything artificial, turning you artificial.
And work your way into the fast. Don't jump into something really, really big. You have to be good to yourself, good to your body. So, yeah.
Absolutely. As always, much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.